Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us again as we continue our series called Who is My Child? Last session, we introduced the idea of theory. Okay, so that is a concept or a thought that helps us ask good questions. And then we looked at developmental theory. So this is asking good questions about how humans change and develop over time. And so that gave us a great foundation for us to continue. So today we're going to look at a great contributor to developmental theory. This man's name is Jean Piaget. He was born in 1896 in Switzerland, and he is greatly known through those who deal with developmental theory. He was a very brilliant man. Even as a child, he had multiple documents published, very, very smart. He studied and taught many different things over his lifetime. But later in his life, he began to work with standardized testing for children. And this made him very curious as to how children think. And so he began to watch and study children, of how they think, how they develop. His own children were a major contribution in his study of development. So he is best known for the 4 stages of what he calls cognitive development. So this is mental development from birth through adulthood. Piaget starts with the idea of organization within our mind. So he states that a child could, through viewing his world, take in information, and he would then create a mental folder for that information. This is called a schemata. So as the child's world changes, some of this information changes, or he gets a clearer picture of the information. And so he is able to adjust that mental folder or make a new mental folder. This is called assimilation. So he takes the mental folder and the ability to change those mental folders. This allows for adaptation of our thoughts. And then all of that is experienced through these 4 stages of development. And so each of these are grown in a upward motion. Okay? So that means knowledge grows bigger rather than makes you wane over time. Knowledge grows with you physically. You get bigger. Your knowledge gets bigger. Okay? So, to begin, for our 4 stages, the very first stage is called sensory motor. So this is from birth through around age 2. The biggest part of this stage is the idea of what is called object permanence. So this is the concept that the child develops that an object, when it moves away from their view, that object still exists. Okay? So this is where very young children will cry when mom walks out of view. It's why you can play hide and seek and they really think you have gone. Okay, so that is the very first stage. The biggest part of that development is object permanence. So then we have our next stage is called pre-operational. So this again around age 2, and this flows through to age around 7. Here is where we see language, the ability to speak and to use our words. They mix with fantasy, okay? And so this makes that when a child thinks and how he is able to feel, these things always tie together because usually this stage is very self-centered. So as a child continues to develop and continues to grow, we see them go into the third stage, which is concrete operational. This continues at age 7 to around 11. Here, a child gets focused on clear rules to live by, all right? While mental logic is beginning to develop and grow, it's still minimal, okay? They are very literal in their thinking. Usually things for this age group, they're either black or white, right or wrong. There is no middle ground in their thinking. And then the last stage is called formal operation. So this flows from, your 11, 12, right in through all of adulthood. Here we can see abstract thinking, we can see problem solving. Usually teenagers can have a deeper conversation with you about mental things or things to do with their feelings with minimal direction, sometimes no prompting or direction from an adult. So those are the 4 stages that Piaget has stated and has built a lot of his developmental theory around these 4 stages. So Piaget felt that we all go through these 4 stages in our development, but he also felt that there are ways that we can help our children through these stages of development, help them transition from one stage to another. And as parents, those are things that we would like to see happen. So Piaget suggests that people allow younger children or adolescents to struggle with a problem that they might have, rather than just straight out giving them answers. He called this dissonance or disequilibrium, okay? It's making things not even. There's still that problem, that tension in their life. Now, Piaget is not suggesting that when a problem comes, we just, you figure it out yourself. That's not at all what he is suggesting. He is suggesting that when a child is experiencing a new idea or there is a question, something that is unknown, allow your child the space to explore what the answer might be. Now, not all situations are safe for you to allow them to explore, but there are many things that we can allow our kids to just keep asking questions, or we can maybe, if we need to answer their questions, that our questions to them help point them to an answer that they could come up with on their own. We need to not just always show them answers, we need to show them how to think. Okay? Learning to think for yourself is a big part of growing up, of developing mentally. And another part of the way Piaget felt that we could help with learning and development of children is that learning should happen in community. And so this idea of allowing there to be questions and not completely answering your children right away and community pair very well together. God created us as family units, and families are a wonderful place for questions to be asked. Families can be that safe space where you can ask anything. I encourage you to talk about everything, that no topic is really off limits within our family units. We can begin to ask our children questions as they ask us questions. Rather than answer, ask another question. Allow your question to be open-ended. So rather than getting a yes or no or one-word answer, your child is forced to really think through what they are actually processing and speak as to what they are actually processing. Asking questions like, how did that make you feel? They have to think about it. They have to process it. What did you think when blank happened? So now they've got to look back over what happened. Okay, this happened. How did that make me feel? Okay, when your friend did blank, what did you think? Okay, so you're not just asking them what happened. Okay, what did that process make you think about? Okay, maybe ask, how would you respond differently to blank? Again, you're not just asking them to reiterate what happened. Now they're looking back. This is what happened. What could I have done differently? Open-ended questions. The church, our church, can also provide community for our families and for our children. We can provide times when questions can be posed by children, where they can ask questions in a safe space and talk with each other, not just with other adults, but that they can talk with peers about what they're thinking, about what is going on, and ask questions in a safe place. Just like we need each other within our own families, families need other families. God created us to live in community with one another. At our church, we talk about doing life together. Asking questions together is part of that. Learning from each other, questioning each other, listening to each other, exploring truth together. These are all important parts of community. Piaget stated that the purpose of education is development. That thought pairs very well with the gospel. The Lord desires us to mature, to develop by becoming more and more like Him. Just like our stages of development, they grow the same, more and more. Knowing how we learn and when we learn, those things can help us to encourage our children in a spiritual way. Christian education, so we talked about that some last week. That's just development, spiritual development, Christian education for spiritual development. It's Christ-like development. It's not just about information exchange of us teaching each other specific things, but it's information that helps us become more and more like Christ. We could present our children with every memory verse there ever was. We can tell them every single Bible story. But if they don't learn how to think about these things, then those things will always just be stories to them. The purpose of knowledge, of learning, even the knowledge of the Bible, is that it becomes a tool to resolve the deepest of human dilemmas. Okay? That means that we have to be able to learn how to think about the knowledge that we are given. That knowledge, that being able to think about it and allow it to affect our life, is the key. We call this application. You hear a story, you can think about it, and it changes then the way that you look at things. It changes you. This is a key concept for the family who desires spiritual development, to learn to think, to learn to allow the Lord to help you think. Partnering that physical, mental development with the spiritual of learning and the Holy Spirit coming together to change the way we think. Last session, we talked about the verse Ephesians 4:22-24. Let me read it to you again. Throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. So as you begin to lead your family through their physical development, through their stages of development, use that you know, along with the power and the help of the Holy Spirit, that we can see our minds renewed. And we can point our children to the Holy Spirit to allow Him to develop their minds, to change their minds, to renew their thoughts and their attitudes. The best way that we can see spiritual development in our homes is if we allow the Lord to change the way we think, to change our attitudes. If we allow the Lord to develop us, that will have an impact on how we parent. It will have an impact on our home. So as we take a few minutes here to discuss this and ask each other questions, I pray the Lord's blessing on you as you strive to have that balance in your own heart and in your own life, allowing the Lord to change the way you think. Blessings on you.